Something that I realize now looking back is that sex was never my issue. Codependency was. Hey, girlfriends, and to everybody else, what up, YouTube? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the Hey Girlfriend Visual Podcast. Today's topic is going to be about dating and sex. And what I mean by that is that some may question, how soon is too soon to have sex? Do you date different people, have sex with all of them? Things like that. I want to give a rundown of some things, and I first want to give some insight into how I navigated sex and dating, because I was confused about it for a long time, about when to give it up, when should I be celibate, when, should I have sex with him, should I wait 90 days, stuff like that. And so I was trying to navigate all that, and I made a lot of, not mistakes, some mistakes, but a lot of decisions I made were based off of what social media and society says, and not based off what was right for me. So I want to talk about all of that to help you out. Okay, so I remember right after I stopped dating toxic men, and I broke up with my last toxic ex, which was around like 2011, something like that. I remember thinking that the way to heal from that, well, one of the ways to heal from that was to be celibate, or to wait until I had a real relationship with someone before having sex with them, something like that. That's what I had in my mind. And I thought it was a good plan. But let me tell you more about this plan. So I had it in my head that I was not going to have sex with any man unless it was going to lead to a serious relationship. And something that I realize now looking back is that sex was never my issue. Codependency was. And all that time, I'm trying to abstain and be celibate from sex when that's not the real issue. That was not the real issue. And for some, it may be. For some, you may be, having sex too soon and getting involved too soon. That may be for you. But let me explain both sides. All right, so for me, like I said, it was my codependency. So I'm going to tell you a little story about how I realized that the 90-day rule wasn't really for me. And it helped me to see what was important. And I just basically had to create my own wisdom and do what I felt was best for me. And I had to learn that through a lot of trial and error. So one guy, he was a nice guy. I was talking with him and dating him. And I'll be honest, I was not really attracted to him in that way. He wasn't very attractive to me, but he was nice. He was younger than me. And this was right after the toxic guys, the narcissists. So I'm like, let's give it a try. And he took me on dates, paid for everything. We went on like 2 and 3 dates. And one time, like movies, food, this and that. We did a lot of things. And so one time we were drunk and got hot and heavy in his car. Well, was it his car? It was his car. I can remember it's my car. Because I'm so used to me being alone with a car. But anyway, it was his car. We got hot and heavy in his car and went to like, I guess, fourth base. Not sex, but it was touching sexual parts and make it out. And so I'm like, I think he either asked, I said, let's go upstairs to my house. So we went upstairs in my apartment and tried to finish. And when I say try to finish, it didn't work because he couldn't get it up. And there's no shame to any guy that may have erectile dysfunction or problems down there. No problem if you have a small penis, none of that. But me, I knew I wasn't going to feel comfortable with that. And not to mention, he also didn't really speak on it. It's like he went right past it and he couldn't do anything. He just laid there like, he said, maybe give it a little time, and it didn't. And I'm just like, this is awkward. And I'm like, what if I would have waited 90 days or stayed celibate until marriage and ended up with that. That's right then and there. I decided that, you know what? This is not going to work for me. Like, and when I said not work for me, not meaning him, I ended up not talking to him anymore. And I gave him a bullshit excuse. I admit it was a bullshit excuse. I said, like, I want to get back with my ex. I never got back with my ex. Or I said something like, I'm not over my ex. He knew I was just coming out of a bad relationship. And I was just like, mm-mm. And he thought for sure that, oh, she don't want a good guy. He posted some kind of like subliminal shit on his Instagram. Like, or he said subliminal shit like, oh, they don't want good guys. He's one of them men. And I'm like, I dodged the bullet any damn way. But yes, so show him my bra. But yes, that right there, I realized that's not for me. And sex is not clouding my judgment. Sex never has clouded my judgment. I realized that it's important to me. And I can gauge when it's time to have sex with a guy, when it's not. And not get attached to sex, because I've never gotten attached to sex. I started looking at it as a means of like, let's see if we're compatible in that area as well. I feel like when two grown adults that have good intentions for each other and really want a relationship can have sex before a commitment to see if you're compatible. As long as you know and you realize that you're both wanting the same thing, and you feel like he's consistent and transparent and all the good healthy shit. You feel like he's all the good things, and not get attached to it. I started to look at it as like a way to see if I'm compatible, because I did not want to go down that road again. I did not want another guy to have that issue. Granted, that issue can come later on in life and we can figure out how to work through that if possible, but I don't want to start off like that. It was uncomfortable for me, and I realized it's not what I wanted. So I said all that to say this. I want you, when it comes to sex and dating, it's something that you have to determine for yourself what's best for you. No one else, society, can determine it for you. So, for example, if you feel like that you get attached during sex, or you feel like sex clouds your judgment, and it has in the past, and you feel like sex is just, top tier for you, or you maybe even try to heal during sex, meaning that you try to get attention and love and all that through sex. If you have, it depends on the relationship with sex that you have. You have to determine that, not society. No one can tell you how fast or what you should be doing or moving, if you should be celebrating, anything like that. And so once you figure that out, then you can make the move towards what's best for you. And that's what I did. I moved toward what's best for me. And another little story while I'm on this is that it was this one guy that I talked about a little bit in one of my other podcasts on here. And so it was this one guy I talked to for a whole month, and I never gave it up to him. And you want to know why? Because he didn't have to tell me what his intentions were. I never asked. I could tell what his intentions were. I was just trying to ignore my intuition and hope for the best, because I really liked how he looked and all of that. He was tall, attractive. Yeah, I was still stuck on that a little bit, but I wasn't crazy. I wasn't trying to give it up. I just knew that's what he wanted, and that he didn't want something real. And until I felt like he wanted something real, I was not going to give it up to him. And so for a whole month, we talked every day, twice a day. Never went to his house, never gave it up. He wasn't coming to my house, none of that. I was looking for another date. We went on one date in that whole month. That's not consistent. That's not you trying to get to know me. So you didn't have to tell me your intentions. Your intentions are clear. Okay? So that's one thing you should look for. The intentions. It's going to be there, and it's going to be clear. You have to just pay attention to it. You don't have to always ask them. Like, I could ask him. I think I even mentioned that about a relationship, and he kind of hinted at that he wanted one. But his intentions showed otherwise. So, I never gave it up. With my fiance that I'm engaged to now, I gave it up to him on the third date, which I think was in the first week of us meeting. Yes. And I don't care. You can judge, say, this whole behavior. I couldn't do that. I'm not worried about nobody judging me, calling me a hoe or anything like that. This is my life. And this is what I'm doing best for me. I knew what I wanted. He knew what he wanted, which was me. But, no, I'm playing. He knew what he wanted. And so what we did was, I felt like his intentions were so clear about what he wanted. I felt like he was actually dating for a relationship because of his consistency. He was so transparent, so down to earth, so open, so real. I didn't feel like he was trying to sugarcoat anything about himself. I didn't feel like he was trying to hide things about himself. I didn't feel like he was trying to just charm me. And none of those things I felt. I really felt like that he was honest, an honest guy, and wanted something. Now, the thing about this is, when you're dating, you never quite know if you're wasting your time or not. That's something that's a given. You're going to waste your time if you're dating and trying to find the one. Not everyone you meet is going to be the one. So there's going to be some time, quote unquote, wasted. So I wasn't really worried about that anymore. And so we had sex on the third day. And I knew I wanted to make sure that we were sexually compatible in that area. Like, he had all these other great qualities. He was a nice guy. I was attracted to him. I wouldn't say that he was the finest guy. That's okay. I wasn't looking there for that anymore, but I was attracted to him. He was a nice looking guy, handsome enough, tall enough, taller than me. And he had a lot of other qualities. So I'm like, I want to make sure he has everything that I'm looking for. And so I knew that I could have sex that soon and not let it cloud my judgment. I didn't instantly think we were in a relationship. I wanted to still date him and vet him because I was wanting to make sure. So we dated for like a month before I was actually his girlfriend. He asked me. And I feel like he asked me because it got to the point where he didn't know how to introduce me, and he didn't like that. He didn't say that, but I can tell when we were out, he didn't know. He had a hard time introducing me to people, and it felt like he wanted to say girlfriend, but wanted to make sure that I was okay with it, which is another thing that I really loved. He really respected my boundaries, and that's how you know also. And so he asked me. And so in that sense, I felt it was okay for me to have sex with him sooner. Like, I only known him for a week and had sex with him sooner than the guy that I talked to for a whole month. You get my drift? So when you're dating, you have to really be in tune with yourself and what you need and what you're looking for, what you can handle and what you can't. And sometimes there will be a little trial and error. I don't want you to get in your head these 90-day rules and all these rules that society puts out. All these things are like, think like a man, act like a woman, and all that shit. No shade to Steve Harvey, but a little shade to Steve Harvey, but not really shade. But all of this stuff out here, you really have to be in tune with yourself and do what's right for you. I feel like a 90-day rule is for the guys that really have bad intentions, and I feel like when Steve Harvey was like saying in his movie, in his book, like, waiting 90 days before you give up the cookie and the benefits and all of that, I'm like, I get it, but it's coming from his perspective. I feel like Steve was a little bit of a player back in his day. I think he was, from some of the stories he tells. So he's coming from his own perspective. And he's the one that also tries to act like that men change for the right woman and stuff. And that's from his player as Way's perspective and how he used to be. But when you're dating a man that has good intentions, sex is not going to cloud his judgment or anything. If he has the wrong intentions, that's all he wants. So be mindful of that as well. Really, to me, dating and sex is all about you being in tune with you and what you need and what you're looking for and what fits you. If celibacy is something you want to do that. 90-day rule if you want to do because you feel like you just can't, control yourself, or you get ahead of yourself with sex, or you jump too far ahead and just want a relationship and you're not even done vetting him out, stuff like that. If you feel like that, then yes, maybe try it. But I had to realize that those dating standards weren't really for me. I had to find my own dating standards. And I did that by trial and error and realizing what was work for me. And you have to do the same thing. I promise you that works. And you will realize your dating experience to be not so difficult for you anymore. And you'll learn how to navigate it, because if you find a guy that's really wanting the same things that you want, it's not going to be difficult at all. Like, if you are waiting and you're celibate, find a guy that's celibate as well. It won't be so difficult. You know what I'm saying? So once you know what you want, what you know is right for you, and once you know yourself and you're in tune with what you need, it'll make it that much easier. And so, in a nutshell, basically, when it comes to sex and dating, you are the one to determine that. There's no too soon to have sex. Like, if you felt like in the past that you maybe gave it up too soon, you probably did. And the reason being is because you probably weren't looking past, or you were looking past the red flags maybe in that guy. You weren't sure what his intentions were. And when I say you weren't sure what his intentions were, that means that more than likely, why is it doing that? what I was saying, if you feel like you gave it up too soon, and it's because his intentions may not have been clear, and not that he maybe didn't make them clear, or that he said he wanted a relationship or didn't, or wanted to hook up, anything like that. It's basically you vetting the intentions and you seeing what his intentions are. He can say a whole lot of shit. He can say a whole lot. But what matters is what he is showing you. His intentions will be clear by his actions, not by his mouth. That's what I've learned. And so if you felt like you gave it up too soon, it may be because you hadn't quite vetted him out and gotten to know him yet to see if he wants what you want. Now, if you just want to hook up, girlfriend, go hook up. Just do that. If you just want just want to hook up, buddy, that's fine. But make sure your intentions are clear about that for yourself. Make sure you know that that's exactly what you want and you're not looking for something more, and that you don't really want something more deep down, but you just feel you can't get it, or you just feel that, well, for whatever reason. Sometimes we have a lot of feelings deep inside. We really want something, but we just settle for what we can get. So checking yourself with that. And so, and really, if you're catching my drift about this, sex and dating is really all based on you and what it works for you. Like, of course, if you're Christian or Christians, are you watching this and they're like, sex after marriage, that's fine if that's what you want. This is not the podcast for you, because over here we have full anatomy and we make our own decisions about what we want and what's best for us. We don't go by anybody else's timeline, anybody else's standards. Create your own standards. And this will give you more confidence when you're dating, because you know what you want and you know who you are. So I think that's all I got to say on sex and dating. So to wrap it up, just remember, you set your standards and do what you feel best is for you. And what's most important is looking at the intentions of the guy. If he has bad intentions, like even in the movie, actually, before I go, let me say this. Even in Steve Harvey's movie, Think Like a Man and Act Like a Woman. What is it? Act like a... You know what I'm talking about. Even in the movie, Megan Good's character and that dude, his intentions was just to have sex with her. That's what it seemed like. And she was trying to do the 90-day rule to hold him out from doing that and from just wanting that. So she was trying to force him to get to know her and want something different. If you're with the right guy with the right intention, you don't have to do all of that. You don't have to force him to want to get to know you on a deeper level than just sex. You don't have to, you're not meant to change that man's intention. I feel like Steve Harvey feels like that because he felt like that over someone that he ended up with, maybe Marjorie. He felt like that, she changed his intentions or whatever. But what reality is, he changed himself by himself. It's not a woman's job to do that for a man, to make his intentions change from just wanting to hook up to wanting the relationship. So for me, I feel like a 90-day rule, if you feel like you have to wait that long, he was just going to hook up anyway. He can still hook up and just walk and run after that because he gets what he wants. You're not really getting to know each other, That's just my 2 cents on it. But yeah, other than that, y'all, that's all I got for this visual podcast episode. Until the next one, peace out.